Inside the hideout, the royal knights wreaked havoc. Nozel showed why he was a captain, turning liquid mercury into blades and shields. Kirsch covered his path with a sea of petals. On the main path, a second Asta appeared, exposing the disguise of Rhea, the copy mage. He tried to copy anti-magic and failed miserably. Maria Leona, who understood mana flow like no one else, read his every move. She nullified his dark, light, water, and fire magic tricks and steamrolled Rhea. The lesson was clear: no copy could ever match real power forged through grit. Hold up. Before we continue, this is part 2 of the Black Clover series. If you're lost or you need to start from the very beginning, tap the video here or check out the link in the description below. But if you're here from part 1, thank you, it's good to have you here. Let's get on with it. While the Black Bulls cleaned up the mess at their base, Yami went to find William. Atop the castle, Julius was already waiting. There, the truth came out. William thanked Julius for everything and confessed that he shared his body with another soul. The mask and scar disappeared, and the one who took control was Licht. The most insane duel began: light magic, the fastest magic, against time magic, the most absolute. Julius was a monster. He paused, accelerated, and even reversed time to heal his wounds, declaring his duty was to create a future without prejudice. The fight seemed to be turning in the Wizard King's favor until Licht changed tactics and aimed at a new target. He summoned the Arrows of Judgment, a spell powerful enough to wipe the capital off the map. To save everyone, Julius was forced to use all the time he had accumulated in the spell Chrono on Ostoses, reversing the attack and saving the city. But this sacrifice left him completely vulnerable. At the exact moment Yami arrived, Licht pierced Julius's chest with a blade of light. Yami watched, helpless, as the Wizard King fell. With the Wizard King lying on the ground, Licht turned to Yami and dropped a bombshell: William was just sleeping. Before Yami could do anything, Valtus appeared and teleported Licht away. In his final moments, Julius praised Yami, said the new generation was coming in strong, and that his dream would live on. Yami, in tears, gave a final salute as Julius's grimoire faded away. It was the end of the Wizard King. Far away at the base, Maria Leona was still pummeling Rhea. Just as he was about to self-destruct, Asta jumped in front in classic protagonist fashion with a talk no jutsu. He punched Rhea and yelled at him not to throw his life away, saying they were all human and needed to talk to understand each other. Maria Leona thought the idea was ridiculous, but Asta's speech got to Rhea, who remembered someone from his past who thought the same way. Meanwhile, Licht arrived at a stone altar. He inserted the last magic stones he stole from Julius. His followers celebrated, thinking they would finally get their power back. But then came the cruelest plot twist. Licht looked at them with disgust and called them disgusting, distorted beings. He revealed they were not his comrades but sacrifices for the resurrection of the elves. The altar glowed. Rhea began to transform into a true elf. And on the other side of the kingdom, Yuno also started to glow mysteriously. A history lesson revealed the elf tribe's past. The original Licht was a nice guy who believed in friendship between elves and humans. He was friends with Tesha and her brother, a human who also had a 4-leaf clover grimoire. A young elf named Patri idolized Licht but did not trust the friendship with humans. Licht and Tesha fell in love, and she became pregnant. During their wedding ceremony, tragedy struck. A rain of light magic attacked the elves, massacring everyone. Patri, before being hit, saw that the magic belonged to Tesha's brother and swore vengeance. The last thing he saw was Licht holding Tesha, preparing a massive spell. Patri awakened in the body of a human who looked just like Licht. He understood that the original Licht had used forbidden reincarnation magic to save the elf souls. From that point on, Patri, now calling himself Licht, began his plan for revenge. He revived Rhea, Veto, and Fana in human bodies and manipulated them to obtain the magic stones. Back in the present, he faced his followers as their souls were drained as a sacrifice. He confirmed with chilling coldness that they had just been pawns. At the base, Rill was restraining terrorists with his painting magic. But suddenly they started dropping dead. Only Rhea survived. Out of nowhere, a strange light began to shine across the Clover Kingdom. At the Black Bull's hideout, Ghosh also started to glow, much to Gordon and Gray's horror. Turns out he was not the only one. Multiple people throughout the kingdom, including Royal Knights members like Klaus and Yuno, started to glow and change. Rhea announced that the age of humans was over. The elves had been revived in human bodies and were ready for revenge. Meanwhile, Yami sensed a surge of powerful ki and came face to face with Marks and Owen, who had also been possessed. They attacked without mercy, but Yami, cool as ever, protected Julius's body and knocked them both out with absurd ease. Then Charlotte showed up, also possessed. Amy called her the Prickly Thorn Queen, and the two began to clash. A battered Sol appeared trying to help, but the elf did not even recognize her. Yami told Sol to flee with Julius's body and prepared for a serious fight. And to top it all off, down in the dungeon, Luck also began to glow. The clash between Yami and Elf Charlotte was so intense that surrounding buildings collapsed on top of him. The elf used the chaos to grab the unconscious Marks and Owen and escaped. But Yami emerged from the rubble as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, in the prison, the destruction freed two forgotten villains, Geldra and Rev Kai. They united over their shared hatred for Asta. A possessed elf appeared to attack, but the ex-villain duo managed to trap him. In another part of the chaos, Luck, now possessed, was in overdrive. He attacked Noelle with incredible speed. In the other dungeon, Maria Leona, Asta, and Zora were facing Rhea, who had become a magic hacker. To complete the party, Ril, also possessed, arrived flying on a three-headed ink dragon. Asta tried to use his anti-magic, but it did not work to break the possession. Seeing more elves arriving, Zora suggested a strategic retreat. But Maria Leona had other plans. She threw Asta and Zora out of the room, sealed the wall, and prepared for a one-on-one showdown. And far away at the Crimson Lion's base, the hand of Fuegolian, who was in a coma, twitched. At the Crimson Lion's base, Vice Captain Randall, possessed by an elf, was tearing through his own squad. Amid the chaos, Leopold Vermilion stepped up. He knew he was at a disadvantage, but he did not give up, and his courage inspired the rest of the team. Leopold started fighting the elf, and despite taking a beating, he adapted quickly. Just as the elf was about to deliver the final blow, an overwhelming fire mana filled the room. It was Fuegolian Vermilion. He was on his feet with an arm made of flames and salamander by his side. The captain was back. The fight became a walk in the park. Fuegolian completely dominated the elf, restrained him, and won the fight. He then learned that his sister had taken his post and remembered the attack by William. Meanwhile, at the Golden Dawn's headquarters, the elf committee meeting was in full swing. Several members had been possessed, including Langris. To cap it off, Yami woke Finral up with a kick, telling him about the situation. Finral sensed his brother's sinister energy and decided that this time he would not run, he was going to save Langris. Rhea started mocking Maria Leona, saying she had no chance against 5 elves. But she was unfazed and replied that her companions would only get in the way. The elves' plan was simple: take out Maria Leona, then go after Asta since his swords and grimoire belonged to the original Licht. The fight began, and it was pure insanity. Maria Leona went all out but soon realized her senses were dulling, the fault of an elf using snow magic that put everyone to sleep. The elves seized the opportunity and trapped her with sand magic. They thought they had won, but Maria Leona simply shattered the trap and kept fighting. Realizing she could not win with brute force, she decided to use her ultimate move and unleashed all her mana at once, turning the entire room into a purgatory of blue flames. The elves survived but were badly beaten. They prepared to deliver the finishing blow to the unconscious Maria Leona. But suddenly, Asta and Zora burst into the room. They had a plan. Zora used his trap magic to capture the elves' combined attack and reflect it to Asta, who batted it back to Zora with his sword. After a round of magical ping-pong, the attack returned, quadrupled, right into the elves' faces. They rescued Maria Leona and tried to flee, but Rhea emerged from a portal, grabbed Asta, and dragged him away. Asta was thrown into Licht's chamber where Mimosa was trapped, and to end the episode with a bang, he saw that even his rival, Yuno, had been possessed by an elf. In the boss chamber, the elves possessing Klaus and L'Etoile charged at Asta, who tried to appeal to their emotions. Klaus's body even reacted, but the elf in control became furious and attacked again, wounding Asta. Even on his knees, Asta screamed that he would survive and become the Wizard King. This phrase acted as a trigger for Yuno, who remembered his childhood and broke free from the elf's control, shouting that he was the one who would become the Wizard King. The dynamic duo was back. Ria, watching, was shocked. Klaus and L'Etoile decided to go all out, but Yuno and Asta were on another level. Yuno activated Spirit Dive, and Asta entered his Black Asta form. Together they defeated the two elves in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, the true boss, Licht, finally made his move. He took the magic swords. Licht was absurdly fast and powerful. He simply took back the swords Asta was holding and went on the offensive, giving the two protagonists a severe beatdown. He threw Asta against a wall and then into a pool, causing him to lose his transformation. While Yuno tried to hold Licht off, Asta decided he would surpass his limits right there and now. He reactivated his Black Asta form, flew up at Licht, and joined Yuno. The two rivals attacked together with everything they had. Licht blocked the attack, but one of the swords was sent flying, and Asta caught it midair. In response, Licht unleashed a massive energy blast, destroying the entire area and sending Asta, Yuno, and Mimosa to the bottom of the dungeon. After that insane explosion, Asta, Yuno, and Mimosa barely survived, saved by Yuno's wind magic. Meanwhile, the elves regrouped, and their hideout, now a flying fortress, headed towards the royal capital. The mission was clear: destroy everything. Asta's group met up with Noel and other royal knights. Noel used a magical item to heal everyone. Suddenly, he received a call informing him that the capital was under attack. His order was cold: if necessary, they would have to kill their possessed comrades. Noel protested, saying they could be saved, just like Yuno was. As the flying fortress passed over Hage village, an elf descended to spread chaos, attacking the villagers with poison. Sister Lily tried to fight back, but it was useless. Asta's group noticed the attack, and Asta and Yuno immediately recognized their hometown. They wanted to go help. Noel, with his overbearing big brother vibe, said the capital was the priority but eventually relented, telling them to be quick. In Hage, little Nash, remembering Asta and Yuno's words, stood in front of Sister Lily to protect her. And at that exact moment, Asta and Yuno arrived, blocking the blow as if it were nothing. Seeing Nash crying, they told him he was brave and that from here on they would take over. Asta and Yuno were locked in a fierce battle against a member of the Purple Orcas who was possessed and using highly toxic poison plant magic. Meanwhile, Father Orsi, Sister Lily, and the children remembered the letters the two used to send. The fight got personal when Asta saw that Father Orsi had been poisoned. He rushed to help, but the poison had already spread too far, and not even the Demon Slayer sword could nullify the spell. Time was running out. But just when all seemed lost, Asta's grimoire began to glow, and a brand new sword sprouted from within it. Asta grabbed the new sword, and an absurd wave of power washed over him. He received a flash of memories and a massive surge of anti-magic. Asta was still processing the power flowing from the new Demon Destroyer sword. He focused and suddenly managed to master the blade. The result: the sword sucked all the poison out of the people of Hage. Father Orsi woke up instantly, completely cured. While Asta was busy, the possessed elf got distracted, and Yuno seized the opportunity to attack. The elf was confused. How was Yuno not affected by the reincarnation? And why was a magicless kid using Licht's sword? A flashback revealed that this elf was a kind man who just wanted to give flowers at Licht's wedding, but the massacre filled him with hatred. It was combo time. Yuno cleared a path with his tornado, and Asta struck the elf head-on with the Demon Destroyer sword, cancelling the possession. After snacking on some potatoes, the freed knight, Digit, explained that the elf's soul was pure. Asta and Yuno said goodbye to their home and left with Digit. Along the way, they saw two massive points of energy and decided to split up, agreeing to meet in the capital. As the elves' flying hideout passed over a town, the elf possessing Luck's body descended to cause chaos. He had the time of his life terrifying everyone with his lightning magic. Out of nowhere, Magna and Vanessa appeared and were shocked to see their friend was the one behind the destruction. The elf, Lufthu, could not care less and immediately attacked them. The fight began, Lufthu's incredible speed versus Magna's explosions and Vanessa's pet cat, which altered fate to save Magna from fatal attacks. Magna was incredibly stubborn, even blowing up his own hand just to land a hit. He managed to pin Lufthu for a second, but the elf broke free with even more power. His tactic became a cruel game, relentlessly attacking Magna to force Vanessa to exhaust her mana. The plan worked, and soon both were on the ground, defeated. But just as Lufthu was about to finish Magna off, he started to cry. It was Luck, fighting from within. Magna screamed for his friend to come out. Lufthu got angry and prepared a final attack, but Vanessa used her last drop of power for a master stroke. She pulled Asta, who was flying by, right out of the sky. Asta came in hot, defended against the attack, and activated his Black Asta form. He explained that he could track Lufthu thanks to his hateful key and his sword. With movie-worthy teamwork, they managed to hit Lufthu. But when Asta tried to exorcise the elf, Lufthu recovered again, grabbed Asta, and unleashed an insane amount of lightning while Magna and Vanessa held on. The elf threatened to blow everyone up and began to transform. Meanwhile, in Luck's mind, he found his mother. She asked him to go with her, but then he heard the Black Bulls calling for him. Instantly, he chose to return to his friends. An emotional flashback showed all his interactions with the squad. When the reincarnation magic finally broke, Lufthu smiled and said he wished he could have been friends with humans. Shortly after, Luck got up crying and asked if they were still friends. Magna did not hesitate, giving him a huge hug. A truly tear-jerking moment. Back at their base, which was completely destroyed, they found Gordon, Gray, and Henry sitting among the rubble. After they shared what happened with Gauche, Charmy showed up looking anything but friendly, but she was not possessed, she was just furious because someone destroyed her garden. The group blamed the elves, and a calmer Charmy created a chef sheep that cooked a meal that restored magic. Henry stayed isolated so he did not drain anyone's mana. But Asta, ever the good guy, called him over, saying they just had to eat more to compensate. With their energy restored, Henry used his magic to rebuild the base, not just any old way, but transformed it into a giant charging bull. The Black Bulls hopped in and set off to defend the kingdom in style. The Black Bulls advanced on the royal capital in their mobile base. Luck, now back to normal, sensed the presence of 3 elves up ahead. The elves were causing major chaos in a small town. The local magic knights were exhausted. One of the elves prepared to use ice magic but suddenly noticed something massive heading their way. They tried to create an earth wall, but it was no use. The raging Black Bull smashed through the wall, switched to battle mode, and charged the elves. They tried to attack the base, but Rouge, Vanessa's cat, deflected every spell. Henry then deployed cannons, and Luck, Magna, and Gordon fired their attacks through them, their power completely amplified. The elves attempted a last resort with a compound magic spell, but before they could finish, Asta was launched from the base like a human missile, nullified their magic, and knocked them all out. Afterward, he used the Demon Destroyer sword to break the reincarnation. Meanwhile, in a flashback, William's story was shown. He discovered he shared his body with Patry. After Patry defeated Julius, a guilt-ridden William allowed the elf to take full control. Back in the present, Raiders, the guy Licht had defeated, came back to life with evolved magic, seeking revenge. He resurrected Sally and Valtus. The trio appeared right in front of Asta, and Raiders offered to help him get revenge. Asta refused, saying their goal was to protect the kingdom, not vengeance. To convince Sally, he offered himself as a test subject for her experiments. She, of course, accepted. The royal castle was being invaded by members of the Golden Dawn, possessed by elves, including Langris. The situation was chaotic. Yami and Finral were in a grim battle against them, and things only improved slightly when Jack the Ripper arrived. After regrouping with Nozel and the others, the team entered the castle. The plan was simple: split up to protect as many people as possible. Everyone rushed off in different directions. The conflict even reached the Silver family home. An elf named Kivin had invaded and was mercilessly attacking Solid and Nebra. Just when things looked hopeless, Nozel and Noel arrived to save the day. However, Kivin's compass magic was completely overpowered. The fight was far from over. A flashback showed Noel's mother's funeral and her entire childhood as a living hell, with Solid and Nebra constantly mocking her. Back in the present, Nozel and Noel were trapped by Kivin's compass magic. Noel's initial attacks failed, but she remembered all her training and her desire to protect her family. So, she decided to go all out and intentionally lost control, completely flooding the space. Kivin was forced to undo the spell to avoid drowning. As the water receded, Noel awakened a new spell born from her suffering: water creation magic, Valkyrie armor, a full suit of armor made of water complete with a lance. Noel displayed incredible speed and control, practically flying as she surfed on mana currents. She declared that all the mana within her armor's range was under her control and pierced through the compass shield, defeating the enemy. Right after their celebration, more possessed elves appeared. One launched a fireball at the downed Solid, but the attack was reflected by a trap. Who should appear but Zora? Out of nowhere, Nozel, though injured, used his Mercury magic to strengthen himself and joined Noel and Zora to face the new threat. At the Vermilion estate, Kish, Mimosa, and En were on a rescue mission. They combined their magic. Kish's cherry blossom magic created a cloud for confusion. N's fungus magic messed with the enemy's senses, and Mimosa's plant magic mapped the area to guide civilians. Their teamwork was interrupted by Bevel, an elf who had taken over David's body. He saw through their disguise and revealed that the reincarnated elves were much stronger. He then dropped a bombshell: a floating fortress was heading for the capital, and another elf was already there to take care of the king. Cut to the throne room where the elf in Langris's body was wiping out the guards. King Augustus used his light magic to create a giant light statue of himself. Langris, completely unimpressed, used his spatial magic and made the king's spells simply vanish. As he was about to attack the king, his fiancée, Finny, begged him to stop. Suddenly, Finral emerged from a portal, saving Finny. Just as Yami and Jack the Ripper arrived, the three captains charged at Langris. Yami absorbed the spatial spheres with his black hole. Jack sliced them with his severing magic, and Finral redirected them. Yami and Jack launched a combined attack that broke Langris's automatic defense barrier. Knocked out by a blow from Yami, Langris unleashed one last massive suicidal attack. Finral used a new spell, Fallen Angel's Winglet, to teleport Yami and Jack to safety. Alone with his brother, Finral entered his mind and managed to reach him, causing them both to fall to the ground, hand in hand. Up in the floating fortress, Patri, Rhea, and the other elves confirmed they had retrieved the final magic stone. Now all that was left was to place it on the pedestal in the castle to begin the spell that would destroy the Clover Kingdom. Rhea welcomed the newly revived Veto and Fana. He explained he had used Sally's research to create brand new bodies for them. Fauna noticed her mind was clearer, and Rhea confirmed it was because this time they had not used the evil eye, which previously amplified their malice. The downside was that when Fauna tried to summon Salamander, she discovered the fire spirit had found a new master. Meanwhile, high in the skies, the Shadow Palace simply appeared. The 10 possessed elves, who now called themselves the Apostles of Sephira, gathered on a floating platform. A villainous David explained the plan: place the final magic stone, complete the elves' reincarnation, and send the souls of all humans to the underworld. Kirsch Vermilion tried to take them on, but the party was spectacularly crashed. The Black Bull's base, transformed into a giant golem, came smashing through. The entire squad, plus Sally, Raiders, and Valters, emerged, ready for a fight. The golem base even withstood a few attacks. But then Dorothy, one of the apostles, stepped in with her dream magic. In the blink of an eye, she kidnapped Vanessa, Magna, Luck, Charmy, and Sally into the glamour world, a dimension from which supposedly no one escaped. To make matters worse, two other apostles used a combination of mirror and eye magic to paralyze the remaining heroes. But as always, Asta was the exception. His anti-magic freed him from the spell. And as the elf demanded the Demon Destroyer sword back, Asta charged forward. The members kidnapped by the possessed Dorothy woke up in the glamour world. The elf, who called herself Reeve, explained that inside she was the boss. Everything she imagined became real. When she summoned a bizarre monster, Magna destroyed it, but only because Vanessa's cat used its red thread of fate power to alter reality. Sally, the genius, figured out the logic. Since Reeve created tangible objects, the laws of real-world physics still applied. And most importantly, she could not control their magic. Reeve laid it all out. Everyone who entered eventually fell into a deep slumber. As the group started feeling tired, Sally had another brilliant idea. If Reeve's magic brought her thoughts to life, they could force her to create an exit just by thinking really hard about a door. And it actually worked. Several doors began to appear. The scene cut to Yami and Jack, who were completely lost in a labyrinth created by another elf's dice magic. Meanwhile, Asta, Henry, Gordon, and Gray continued their fight against the possessed Gauche and Marie. The elf in Gauche's body unleashed a storm of mirror attacks. When Henry reached his limit and Asta was about to be defeated, Gordon and Gray combined their magic, turning Gordon's poison into cotton to save their friend. A flashback revealed Henry's past. He was born with a frail body and a curse that drained mana, leading him to be abandoned. The house he lived in was found by Yami and became the Black Bull's hideout. His friends became his family. With this motivation, Henry decided to fight with everything he had. Back in the glamour world, the escape attempt went down the drain when Reeve sealed all the exits with chains. Trapped and running out of mana, Luck came up with a plan: use Charmy's cotton and Vanessa's thread to create a replica of the real Dorothy. The trick worked, forcing the elf's consciousness to recognize its host and causing the original Dorothy to appear. The two Dorothys began a chaotic battle of dream magic that started tearing the entire dimension apart. Meanwhile, Asta, Gordon, and Gray were in a tough spot against the possessed siblings. They tried to use the Black Bull's hideout as a battering ram, but the attack failed and the base was destroyed. As they fell, Henry activated his curse to its maximum, draining both Gauche's mana and his own in a pure act of sacrifice. But remembering Asta's friendship, his will to live allowed Gordon and Gray to combine their magic to save him at the last second. With Gauche and Marie weakened, a flashback revealed the truth about the elf massacre. It was the human nobles, not the first wizard king, who betrayed and killed them to steal their power. The elf in Gauche's body, realizing Asta's group was different, accepted defeat. Asta then used his Demon Dweller sword and finally freed Gauche and Marie. To top it all off, the glamour world collapsed, and Magna, Luck, Vanessa, Sally, Charmy, and the unconscious Dorothy fell from the sky. With almost the entire squad reunited, they prepared to recharge and go help Captain Yami in the Shadow Palace. After the Black Bulls regrouped, Charmy prepared a massive feast. As they ate, Noelle got flustered around Asta. And to make matters worse, Sally blurted out that Asta promised to let her experiment on his body after the battle. The look of shock on Noelle's and Mimosa's faces was priceless. Suddenly, two elves appeared to attack but were stopped by the triumphant arrival of Fuegolian and Maria Leona. Asta was overjoyed to see them, and shortly after, Nozel and the other Silver siblings also showed up. The path was blocked by the Golden Dawn squad, now possessed and led by Alec Dora. Maria Leona decided that she and Fuegolian would enter the palace while the Black Bulls handled the grunts outside. Magna encouraged Asta to go with the captains, and Noelle and Mimosa decided to join him. After receiving a push from their siblings, the trio followed the Vermilions into the Shadow Palace. Inside, a strange mana separated the entire group. Asta and Mimosa landed together, and she used her magic to map the place, revealing several rooms, each containing an elf. They entered one and came face to face with the possessed Rill. Elsewhere, Noelle faced the elf Anna. Maria Leona confronted the elf Veto, and Fuegolian took on the possessed Kaiser. Fuegolian's attacks were useless against Kaiser's vortex magic. Remembering the rivalry and admiration he had for his sister, both he and Maria Leona in their separate fights recognized themselves as the strongest and unleashed powerful new spells. Noelle, using her Valkyrie armor, was in a major brawl with Fauna and even unleashed a sea dragon's roar. Fauna survived, regenerating with a forbidden magic called Phoenix Robe, which also happened to burn off her clothes. She explained this magic drew power from the other world. Meanwhile, Asta and Mimosa were fighting monsters created by Rill's painting magic. After Asta got injured protecting Mimosa, he told her to get on his back and tie herself on with vines. Mimosa used her magic to heal him as he fought, turning them into a real-time combat and healing unit. Outside, Yuno arrived at the Shadow Palace, and Charmy appeared out of nowhere, offering him food that instantly restored his magic. Upon learning that Asta was inside the now-sealed palace, Yuno created a path of light and flew in. Charmy tried to follow but landed right in the middle of Asta's fight. When Rill refused her food and destroyed it, Charmy transformed. She revealed she was a human-dwarf hybrid, and her magic changed from cotton to food magic. She summoned a giant wolf and used her spell Glutton's Banquet, which simply ate Rill's magic monsters. Asta and Mimosa left the fight to her and moved on. Just as Fauna was about to defeat Noelle, Jack the Ripper appeared and saved her. At the top of the palace, Yuno confronted Patry, Rhea, and another elf named Ron. He dodged their attacks using his mana zone. Ron used his magic to steal the magic stone from Yuno. Rhea, whose true magic allowed him to copy spells, realized Ron's magic was something else, the ability to know when someone was lying. He questioned why Ron just lied. Seconds later, Ron revealed himself to be a devil and impaled Rhea through the chest. In a flashback, Rhea narrated that he knew the first Wizard King never betrayed the elves, but he lied to fuel his people's hatred. The imposter, Rona, then revealed his true nature. He was a devil with a 5-leaf grimoire. He explained that he had manipulated Licht and the first Wizard King just to create a grimoire of despair. The devil bragged that he was the one who orchestrated the elf massacre 500 years ago, tricking the humans into doing his dirty work. Furious, Patry attacked with light magic, but the devil easily nullified it with his word soul magic, which turned whatever he said into reality. He impaled Patry with iron spears just by speaking. At that exact moment, Asta and Mimosa crashed through the ceiling and joined the party. The devil unleashed a storm of blades at them. Asta used his anti-magic to destroy the magical blades, while Yuno's wind magic deflected the physical ones in a spectacular combined defense. Even so, the devil instantly healed his wounds and revealed that a 5-leaf grimoire was born from the despair of a 4-leaf user. To prove his point, he used his power to corrupt Patry, turning him into a monstrous dark elf, and the first thing he did was unleash an absurd attack. Asta and Yuno, already near their limit, recognized the magic and braced for the worst. The two protagonists faced the dark elf's divine ray of punishment. In an epic combination, Asta used his anti-magic and Yuno used his spirit magic to survive the blast. As Patry prepared to attack again, none other than Nozel Silver appeared, vowing to avenge his rival, Fuegolian. Using his mercury magic, Nozel reflected Patry's light attacks and trapped him in his silver star of execution, an inescapable prison. Inside, he bombarded Patry until the guy collapsed. But just as he was about to deliver the final blow, Yuno stopped Nozel, revealing that Patry was in William's body. Asta then decided to use his Demon Dweller sword to sever the connection. He stabbed Patry, and his consciousness was pulled into the elf's mind. There, Asta found a young and desperate version of Patry and chewed him out, screaming at him to stop giving up and hurting innocent people. Asta said he would not be forgiven, but he needed to get up and fight. His words, reminiscent of the first Wizard King, freed Patry's soul, breaking the spell. At that very moment, the devil emerged from the 5-leaf grimoire. But Licht, now fully awakened, stood to face him. Yami and another elf, Charla, arrived to join the fray, while the antibird Nero finally spoke, telling Finral to take her to the bones of the ancient demon. Meanwhile, Yami and Charla were in a desperate battle against the devil himself, a being named Zagred. His word soul magic was simply insane, he basically spoke things into existence. He conjured a storm of blades that the two could barely defend against. Yami discovered that his dark magic was the only thing the devil could not nullify, forcing the villain to dodge. Amused, the devil summoned a new monstrosity, a giant amorphous blob of otherworldly matter that consumed magic and drained life force. Just as Yami and Charla were about to be swallowed, Asta, Yuno, and the other elves arrived in the nick of time. The powerful attacks from Licht and Yuno were simply absorbed by the mass. As the blob advanced, Asta shoved everyone aside and took the hit head-on. But his anti-magic repelled the spell. Realizing Asta was their only hope, Nozel devised a plan. He and Mimosa would rescue the other knights while Asta, Yuno, and Licht headed straight for the main chamber. At the demon's skull, Finral placed the magic stones on a statue of the first wizard king. Just as Nero instructed, the statue glowed, breaking a seal on Nero, who transformed into a young woman with horns named Secra. The statue itself came to life, revealing itself to be the first wizard king, Lumiere. A flashback showed their story from 500 years ago. Prince Lumiere was friends with the elf leader, Licht, and they dreamed of a world where humans and elves could live in peace. But a devil manipulated the royal court, causing the elf massacre. In his despair, Licht was transformed into a demon, and Lumiere was forced to defeat him. A flashback showed a colossal demon who was actually Licht destroying the Clover Kingdom. Lumiere confronted his friend, who begged for death. Lumiere unleashed his powerful light magic, but the battle was interrupted by the true villain, Zagred. As Lumiere fought, Secra used a magical item to absorb the devil's power, but the item shattered. With his last ounce of will, Licht begged Lumiere to end his suffering. Lumiere cast a final spell, turning the demon to stone and becoming a legend. After the battle, Secra found a dying Lumiere. As Zagred tried to steal Licht's 5-leaf grimoire, Secra used forbidden magic to seal the devil. In revenge, Zagred cursed her with horns. To save Lumiere, Secra used another forbidden spell, sealing him in a statue to preserve his life, which turned her into an antibird for 500 years. Back in the present, the resurrected Lumiere and the now human Secra joined Asta and the others. Secra healed Lumiere and then used her magic to awaken Licht's true soul. The two old friends were reunited and combined their sword and light magic in a devastating attack against Zagred. However, Zagred regenerated from his still-beating heart, mocking their efforts. As the heroes prepared for the next round, Asta realized his anti-magic was their only hope. Down below, Yami and Charla watched the demon's absurd mana. Yami realized his dark magic was the perfect counter and decided to wait for the right moment. Up above, Asta completely lost control of his anti-magic, which morphed into a giant clumsy sword. The devil mocked Asta's lack of skill and summoned a horde of giant worm-like creatures. Just as Asta was about to be swallowed, Lumiere appeared to save the day. Licht and Yuno's attacks did not even scratch the demon. So, Licht resorted to demon light magic, which finally managed to deal some damage. Inspired, Asta finally mastered his power and created the Black Divider sword, while Yuno created the Spirit of Zephyr. The two rivals combined their attacks, with Yuno's wind acting as a propellant for Asta to slice through the demon, but the beast regenerated, revealing it moved its heart. The demon then launched a massive attack to consume the entire Shadow Palace. In response, Lumiere and Licht used the Demon Dweller sword to create a barrier of light, protecting everyone. From below, Yami saw his chance. With Charlotte's help, he unleashed Dark Cloak Dimension / Equinox, an attack so absurd it sliced both the palace and the demon in half. The devil regenerated again, but just as Asta's body began to give out, Secra used her sealing magic to heal him, telling him to surpass his limits. Yuno launched one last gigantic wind attack as a distraction, allowing a fully recovered Asta to charge forward and pierce the demon's heart with the Demon Slayer sword, defeating the fiend once and for all. As the demon's body disintegrated, a mysterious voice from Asta's grimoire taunted the defeated devil. With the villain gone, the Shadow Palace began to crumble. The Magic Knights and the now freed elves rushed to escape. Lumiere's magic ran out and his light platforms disappeared, causing everyone to plummet. In a moment of pure genius, Asta used his Black Divider to create a platform and save his friends. Soon, the other groups joined them, including Yami, Charlotte, and the remnants of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. The souls of the original elves, including Licht, began to depart for the afterlife. Lumiere's stone body crumbled, and he shared an emotional farewell with Secra before his spirit faded. The immediate threat was over, but the kingdom was still in danger from the reincarnated elves. William finally regained control of his body and used his world tree magic, creating a gigantic tree that connected to all the possessed magic knights. Asta, using his Demon Destroyer sword, channeled the tree's magic and unleashed a wave of anti-magic which acted as a global antivirus, breaking the reincarnation spell. The elf souls peacefully left their hosts. After the dust settled, Yami and William visited Julius Navacrano's grave only to find the body missing. The Wizard King reappeared alive and well, only now in the body of a 13-year-old boy, all thanks to a magic item that had stored his life's time. Yami, of course, was furious about the fake death. In a private conversation, Julius called William for a straight talk. He took the blame for losing to the elven soul and, instead of a harsh punishment, ordered the Golden Dawn's captain to atone by serving the kingdom. William swore his loyalty. Soon after, Julius gathered Asta, Noel, Mimosa, and Secra to list the problems. First, he was a kid now and had no authority. Second, the neighboring kingdoms were eyeing Clover, ready to invade. And third, the biggest problem of all, Asta was at risk of being executed for his demonic power. As the kingdom rebuilt, Asta and Secra were arrested and taken to the Magic Parliament. There, a man named Damnatio Kira presided over a trial with a foregone conclusion. He used Gauche's sister, Marie, as bait to blackmail Asta, forced him to manifest the demon, and immediately declared him guilty. The capital buzzed with headlines accusing Asta of having a pact with the devil. Back in Hage, Father Orsi and Sister Lily were outraged. Damnatio further threatened Hage Village to force Asta to surrender. But when all seemed lost, the Black Bulls, led by Yami, burst through the courtroom wall and made a grand entrance, declaring their unwavering loyalty to Asta. In the chaos, Secra broke free and even received her squad robe on the spot. Damnatio tried to use his scale magic to bring everyone to their knees, but Asta nullified it. Before an all-out brawl could erupt, Nozel and Fuegolian appeared with an order from the Wizard King. The Black Bulls were exiled and given an official mission to investigate demons. In reality, it was just a brilliant move by Julius to save everyone's skin. Asta renovated the Black Bulls' base until Yami called him for their new mission, now with Secra officially on the team. Meanwhile, in the capital, Charlotte apologized to Sol for being possessed. The problem was when she remembered the praise the elf Charlotte gave Yami, she panicked when he showed up. Thinking he had discovered her secret, Charlotte fled and had a flashback, her family's curse, the day Yami saved her, and the exact moment she fell in love. She gathered the blue rose, admitted her feelings, and even considered leaving the squad. But to her surprise, her comrades celebrated and became her love advisors. Pushed to confess, she fumbled her words completely, and Yami misunderstood, thinking she hated him. Asta even tried to help but only made things worse. Later at dinner, Charlotte revealed her curse came from an incredibly powerful mage, perhaps from another dimension, and dropped a bombshell: someone in the Black Bulls had an even worse curse. The scene cut to Gordon in his eerie room surrounded by dolls of the entire squad. Yami sent Gordon to his family, the Agrippas, to research curses and try to clear Asta's name. Asta, Gray, and Gauche went along as bodyguards. Arriving at the Gothic-style mansion, Gordon's grandmother uttered the name Magicula, and his father revealed he used the family's dark knowledge to create medicine. He projected a magical map showing active curses, Henry's at the base and another much larger one coming from the Heart Kingdom. In parallel, Noel sought out Dorothy, the captain of the Coral Peacocks, to learn the truth about her mother's death. Inside the glamour world, Dorothy explained that Acia, Noel's mother, was cursed by a devil named Magicula. The most harrowing part was that just speaking about it in the real world transferred the curse to the listener, which was why Noel kept this secret for so long. Asta returned to the base with valuable information about the curse in the Heart Kingdom. Yami mentioned that crossing the border was nearly impossible, but Noel revealed she had been there before. Thus, Asta, Noel, and Finral set off for the Golden Dawn's HQ. There, Finral took the opportunity to visit his brother, Langris, promising to surpass him and win Finnis' heart, only to receive a cold response. With Mimosa's approval, Yami decided to borrow a ship, and the group departed. Upon arrival, they were greeted by Garja, a spirit guardian, who created a staircase of water for them. But then out of nowhere, he attacked. Garja trapped Asta in a water bubble and sent him flying while effortlessly defeating Noel, Mimosa, and Finral. Asta landed in a cave and came face to face with Undine, the water spirit. She explained the Heart Kingdom's power system and announced she would take the demon's power for herself. Asta and Secra were brought before the Queen of the Heart Kingdom, Lolopechka, who turned out to be a somewhat clumsy but incredibly kind girl, always accompanied by Undine. Garja, having assessed the Clover group's strength, reported on his battle. The Queen then explained the kingdom's magic stage system and got straight to the point. To face a devil, one must be at least stage 1. Then came the bombshell: she herself was cursed by Magicula and had only 1 year to live. To prove her power, she controlled all the water in the kingdom and asked for Clover's help. Meanwhile, on the border with the Diamond Kingdom, Luck, Magna, and Vanessa watched as a single mage from the Spade Kingdom annihilated an entire army, demonstrating the level of the coming threat. Julius immediately accepted the alliance with Heart. 6 months of intense training followed, then a direct assault on Spade. The rule was clear: only arcane stage mags like Asta and Yami could defeat devils. Yami gave the order. They had 6 months to surpass all their limits. With the Clover Kingdom still rebuilding, the captains appeared in public to reassure the populace, with Owen posing as Julius. King Augustus tried to steal the show, but Yami and Jack arrived brawling and ruined everything, earning a scolding from Charlotte. The public began to question the Black Bull's second-place ranking and gossip about Asta's demon. Later, in a meeting with the 9 captains and the group that went to Heart, William apologized to Yami, who just scoffed. Julius entered with Marks and Damnatio, and they discussed Magicula, confirming the plan to attack Spade in 6 months. To do so, everyone must reach the first stage as quickly as possible. Julius rejected resignation requests from William, Charlotte, and Kaiser, pardoned Geldra to aid reconstruction, and, to Yami and Jack's despair, cut all the captains' salaries in half. To top off the night, the two lost even more money to William at a bar, who ended up paying the tab and vowing to defeat the devil. Mary O'Leona, without asking, invaded the Black Bull's base, kidnapped the entire squad, and took them to train at the ultimate volcano along with the Crimson Lions. The place was a strong magic region with heat so extreme everyone was forced to master mana skin. Asta, as always, found his own way by using anti-magic to protect himself. The trip was a descent through hellish caves filled with monsters toward a special hot spring at the volcano center. Charmy and Gordon almost gave up, but their pride would not let them. Asta and Leopold got into a fierce competition, while Secra was only interested in reaching the spring. Noelle even started hallucinating from the heat before snapping out of it and attacking Asta on pure reflex. As Luck went off searching for strong enemies, a giant spider appeared, trapped Noelle, and withstood Leopold's attacks. It was then that Maria Leona and Fuegolian revealed their plan. They used the knights as bait to lure the spider and locate a secret dungeon. Maria Leona confirmed with Marks that the mission was to find a magic tool to help with reconstruction. The team, consisting of Asta, Noelle, Luck, Magna, Leopold, and Randall, split into 3 routes filled with traps. Luck, reckless as ever, rushed ahead and triggered all of them, separating the group. Asta and Noelle faced a wave of lava, and he carried her on his back to get across. They reunited with Luck and Magna in front of strange chests with legs. Meanwhile, Leopold and Randall reached the treasure room but were attacked by the same giant spider and stone golems. The Black Bulls arrived just in time to help. In a moment of crisis, Leopold remembered his friend's sacrifices, awakened a new technique, compressed his flames into a devastating beam, and annihilated the enemies. Secra discovered that the tool had transformed the spider and was destroyed in the fight. As punishment, Maria Leona ordered Asta and Leopold to search the entire area all night. They returned empty-handed, and upon reaching their base, the door exploded. Maria Leona was already there waiting. At the seabed temple, the priests were in a panic. A sea guardian had gone berserk, and not even Kiato and Kahono could handle it. On the beach, the Black Bulls were training, and Noelle began to hear a strange melody. Suddenly, Kahono and Kiato emerged from the water, asking for help. The High Priest explained that unstable mana had caused monsters to appear and driven the giant guardian mad. Noelle proposed using a compact version of her sea dragon's nest to get the team there. With Finral as the escape button, they descended through an area called the Void of No Return, facing monster fish and a giant kraken, which blinded the group with its ink. Remembering Lolopechka's lesson about natural mana, Noelle created individual air bubbles, activated her Valkyrie dress, and defeated the beast. Arriving at the abyssal ruins, they found the Guardian, a white whale, protecting its calf. Kahono and Kiato's ritual finally calmed it. As thanks, the Guardian touched Noelle's forehead, showing her an image of her mother. Charmy decided she needed to improve her cooking to boost her allies' mana. Her first attempt went sideways. Magna and Luck became superpowered but completely out of control. In the capital, the chef put her through intense training and sent her to find rare ingredients. Upon her return, she prepared a dish that looked so awful no one dared to try it. The problem was the dishes merged and became a gluttonous monster that started sucking everyone's mana. Yami sent Asta to deal with it. Since he had no mana to lose, he literally ate the enemy, releasing the accumulated energy and leaving everyone exhausted. Asta's lesson about the spice of love made Charmy understand that cooking was about making others happy. Meanwhile, Gordon tried to train Maria Leona style by himself, got lost in the forest for 3 days, fought poison-immune wolves, and realized his strength came from his friends. The wolves ended up guiding him back, where he discovered no one even noticed he was gone because they were all at a restaurant having a special deal. Zora visited the grave of his father, Zara, and found fresh flowers. Nearby, he saw a commoner boy named En being humiliated by nobles who also mocked Zara. When En got beaten up, Zora used his traps to intervene. The boy's father, a vendor who was a fan of Zara, appeared. At night, the noble Kaido returned with a magic item to amplify his power and nearly caused a tragedy. But Zora managed to deflect the attack. To make matters worse, Kaido's father invaded En's house, accusing him of theft. It was then that Zora revealed his Black Bull's robe, exposed the farce, and kicked the 2 nobles out. As he left, En finally understood Zara's special quality, and Zora left a stinky bug as a parting gift. Worried about the squad's readiness for the war against Spade, Vanessa returned to the witch's forest and asked the queen to teach her an ancient magic. The queen agreed on one condition: Vanessa must solve a problem with beasts interfering with the forest's security golems. Paired with 2 witches who lacked attack magic, the trio nearly fell. But after an encounter, a phrase sparked an idea: everything has a use. Using thread puppets, illusions, and sounds, they created fake bait to lure the predators and scare them away with a makeshift monster. The queen was impressed. The 3 became local heroes, and Vanessa understood her power lay in creativity and bringing people together. Back at the base, she even turned down a drink from Yami to stay focused on training. Julius, still disguised as a boy, finished his work and asked Marx for a few favors. Shortly after, Marx showed up at the base with Sally, who had been released from prison to help create an item that enhanced magical power. Asta offered to be a guinea pig but ended up last in line. Upon seeing the mad scientist, the bulls tried to flee, but Sally hunted them down one by one. She collected samples from everyone. From Asta she only managed to get a lock of hair. Meanwhile, Marx, Fuegolian, and Nozel investigated bandits in a village. When they said the password Chronovala, the previously fearful villagers revealed they knew Julius's alter ego. At night, they discovered the bandits were the villagers themselves, driven by poverty. The captains forgave the attack and promised to help rebuild. A quick jump to the past showed a young Asta and Yuno promising to build their own families one day. Back in the present at the Golden Dawn, Alec Dora held a grudge against Yuno and led a mission in Saucy to prove he was better. The mission was hunting enraged boars. Alec Dora wanted to use brute force, but Yuno discovered the cause: purple berries driving the animals wild. Problem solved. They barely returned before another issue arose, a dungeon supposedly holding Spade soldiers. But instead of an army, they found a gang of thieves led by a former magic knight. The guy came equipped with an item that disrupted Alec Dora's sand and an urn that acted like a magic vacuum, even sucking away Sylph's power. At a disadvantage, the Golden Dawn proved teamwork was everything. They broke the floor, Sylph retrieved the urn, and Yuno landed the masterstroke, hiding an ascending tornado within Alec-Dora's magic to catch the villain by surprise. In the end, Alec-Dora swallowed his pride, apologized, and admitted Yuno knew his stuff. He even invited Yuno to dinner, and that was when it hit him, he was finally forming the family he promised so long ago. Grey was in that phase of feeling like an NPC while all her friends leveled up. Determined to become a main character, she asked Noelle for posture lessons, but it did not click. Gordon suggested using dolls as an audience, but her insecurity glitched. Her last hope was Gauche, who came up with a highly questionable coaching method, mirrors everywhere, fake hypnosis, and a role-playing session where she was Marie. The breakdown turned into therapy when Gauche bluntly told her the truth: you can change the skin, but the character is the same. She was still Grey. In parallel, Charlotte trained hard with the Blue Rose while her subordinates gossiped about her and Yami. The captain turned beet red. And to make matters worse, at the captain's meeting, she literally tripped and fell into his arms. Julius, who was no fool, saw this spark and got a brilliant idea to hype everyone up, pit captain against captain in a massive show. Basically, a Royal Rumble. The captain's tournament began. On one side, pure offense with Jack, Yami, Nozel, and Kaiser. On the other, shrewd strategy from Dorothy, William, Charlotte, and Fuegolian. William immediately created an entire forest and fired wooden spears. Nozel and Kaiser held the line. Jack started slicing through everything, and Yami tried to advance, but Charlotte trapped him with briars. The fight became controlled chaos. Dorothy used her glamour world to deflect attacks while Fuegolian and Salamander ramped up pressure. Nozel tried to trap them in Mercury, but Fuegolian vaporized a lake to escape and counterattack. Jack got caught in a trap but tore through his own magic to break free. Meanwhile, Yami was pulled into Dorothy's dream dimension and, tired of fighting clones, ripped reality apart with his dimension/Equinox. The arena exploded with so much power that both teams' crystals were hit simultaneously. A draw. Julius ended the show, leaving a message: this fight was just a warm-up for the war. Months of training later, the Magic Knights were on another level. To celebrate Asta and Noelle's one-year anniversary with the Black Bulls, Yami took the entire squad back to the Magic Knights entrance exam. The memories flooded back. Asta remembered the broom that would not fly and how he started with zero magic. Noelle, now super confident, laughed at how much she had grown. Nozel even showed up and finally acknowledged his sister's power, admitting that all his coldness was just a twisted way of protecting her. Noelle proudly retorted that the Black Bulls were her true family. Of course, Yuno renewed his vow with Asta, one of them would become the next Wizard King. The day ended with no new members joining the Bulls. After all, the squad standard for weirdness was high. Back at the base, they celebrated the rookie's anniversary. From a distance, Julius watched with a smile while William returned the magic stone to Yuno, closing a cycle. Marks updated Julius, the Clover Kingdom was recovering well. At the captain's meeting, the topic was joint training in the Heart Kingdom. Yami chose Asta and Secra for being Arcane Stage, along with Luck, Finral, and Noelle. Nozel immediately got worried about his sister, and Dorothy teased him. William recommended Mimosa for her healing and mentioned Yuno declined. Fuegolian sent Leopold to gain experience. Charlotte wanted to go to feel the elf power again, and an obsessed Seke begged to go too. At the Star Award ceremony, Sol, Mimosa, and Leopold were promoted, but it was Yuno who stole the show with 77 stars, earning a promotion to first-class senior Magic Knight. King Augustus got salty and, just to be petty, promoted Seke to the same rank to overshadow the commoner. Back with the Bulls, Yami confirmed the team, and Magna made such a scene he ended up being included. Meanwhile, Langris watched Yuno from afar, and a heavy sense of foreboding hung in the air. The rumor at the Golden Dawn was clear: Yuno was going to take Langris's spot as vice-captain. With his pride wounded, Langris visited Finny and found sweet letters from his brother, Finral. The comparison irritated him so much he exploded, but he composed himself and decided to settle things the hard way. He challenged Yuno to a duel. Loser leaves the squad. The fight began with Langris using his spatial magic to destroy everything, but Yuno adapted. Langris got desperate, but Yuno activated Spirit Dive. A remnant of elf power protected Langris, but it was no use. Yuno was faster and placed Zephyr at his throat. Game over. Yuno realized Langris was trying to lose on purpose to leave on his own terms and refused the bet, demanding a real rematch. Even so, Langris requested indefinite leave. On his way out, he ran into Finral, who showed up for one last brotherly taunt. Meanwhile, at the base, Charmy's kitchen was in full swing, and Yami gave Magna the go-ahead. The caravan finally departed for the Heart Kingdom. In the Heart Kingdom, Queen Lolopechka got straight to the point about the war. Garja explained their fighting style and assigned training partners. Each would train with a guardian whose magic mirrored their own. Luck was paired with Garja. As for Asta, being arcane stage with no mana, he got a different test, a hand-to-hand fight against Garja. Noelle and Secret got VIP training with Lolopechka and Undine, focused on preparing for the battle with Magicula. The local mana method technique accelerated some members' progress but completely stumped Magna, who got frustrated and left. Ril mistook the training for a date and just wanted to paint. Charmy used her power to sniff out the best snacks. In combat, Asta could not even touch Garja, ignoring all advice and insisting on brute force. Finral tried to turn his escape magic offensive. Seeing everyone evolving, Yami decided he needed to level up too and set off to find a way to make his slash more devastating. Asta continued to get his butt kicked by Garja. Meanwhile, Yami sought out Maria Leona to learn how to master Mana Zone through sheer pressure. In Heart, the Guardians informed Lolopechka the Clover Knights were getting stronger. But while the heroes trained, the villains were not on vacation. The Spade Kingdom resistance tried to spy on the Dark Triad and confirmed a massive army was being assembled, but they were discovered and forced to flee. In a final act, they sent a man named Ralph running through a strong magic region to deliver a warning. When a subordinate told Dante someone escaped, he barely cared, confident in his power. He projected a sinister shadow and made it clear the invasion was already scheduled. Asta's rematch against Garja began with a mental flashback of his entire journey. With every blow, he remembered where he came from. Noelle also continued to evolve. Meanwhile, every member of the Black Bulls worked on their growth. Magna trained with Zora. Vanessa and Gray looked after Gauche, and Gordon dove into poison studies. Back in the fight, Asta was disarmed, which in the past would have meant defeat, but now his instincts were sharper. He learned to summon the Demon Slayer sword back to his hand. He had not won yet, but the message was clear: Asta's anti-magic had unlocked a new level. A hooded man crossed a strong magic region, nearly dying to deliver an urgent message. In Heart, a Spade mobile fortress, Condello, which ran on the mana of kidnapped civilians, appeared. Lolopechka gathered the team, but Asta was already flying ahead, saving a woman and taking down soldiers. The enemy commander tried poison, but Asta nullified it with the Demon Destroyer sword. And to top it off, activated the Black Divider and sliced the entire fortress in half. Noelle, Mimosa, and Finral arrived to help with the rescue. Mimosa healed the wounded, and they discovered Luck and Leopold had liberated another town. A survivor dropped the bombshell. The real threat was the Dark Triad, 3 mags who wielded devil power. In the villain's castle, Dante, Zenon, and Vanica decided their first targets would be 2 arcane stage mags. Far away, the hooded traveler reached the church in Hage, collapsing in front of Sister Lily and whispering the name that would change the game, Yuno. Sister Lily and Father Orsi tended to him. Meanwhile, in Heart, after the successful mission, the group returned to training. In a light-hearted moment, even Queen Lolopechka tried to join Noelle for a bath. The peace was short-lived as news arrived that Charmy was destroying a forest. Asta went to handle it and found his friend in a giant cotton form. He tried to stop her but ended up being swallowed. Suddenly, Ril appeared, froze the cotton monster, lectured Charmy, and, feeling inspired, painted a picture of the goddess who saved him. Even as Asta insisted it was her. Far from the chaos, Yuno answered the call from Hage. The stranger, Ralph, saw the magic stone around Yuno's neck and dropped the biggest reveal. Yuno was no ordinary orphan, he was the heir to House Grinbariol, the long-lost prince of the Spade Kingdom. To prove his story, Ralph used magic to project memories, Yuno's birth, the happy citizens, the king giving him the magic stone, and then the terror of the Zagrates coup, with Zenon and Vanica slaughtering everyone while Dante took the throne. Ralph's father had fled with baby Yuno, sacrificed himself, and left the prince at the church. Yuno barely had time to process this when an alarm went off. The Golden Dawn's base was under attack. Zenon invaded with 2 subordinates, ordered them to kill everyone except the arcane stage mage, and went straight for William. Alec Dora tried to help but took a bone stake to the chest, saved only by a reflex from his captain. When Yuno finally arrived, he found the base in ruins and, blind with rage, activated Spirit Dive. It was going to be a brutal fight. Consumed by rage, Yuno charged at one of the subordinates. With the precision of Zephyr, he shredded the enemy's stone armor and cut him down, vowing to put an end to people like him. Meanwhile, Klaus and others were trapped in a sinister mist, but Yuno's wind came to the rescue, dissipating the smoke and revealing the villain's true body. L'Etoile immobilized him, and Klaus finished the job. But the victory was short-lived. The ceiling collapsed, revealing William defeated by Zenon. Yuno recognized him and rushed in. But Zenon was on another level. He impaled Klaus and L'Etoile with bones, unleashed 55% of his demonic power, regenerated from everything, and stated the power gap was an abyss. With a single blow, he took Yuno down. Later, the Golden Dawn's base lay in ruins. William's World Tree magic, even in defeat, healed those on the brink. Still, half the squad was dead. Amidst the rubble, Yuno rose and unleashed a cry of pure helplessness. Dante, obsessed with true malice, arrived at the Black Bull's base as if he owned the place. Using his gravity magic, he lifted the entire base into the air. Vanessa, Henry, and Ghost tried to fight back, but the man distorted space, trapped everyone, and drained Rude's magic. Asta burst onto the scene, and Dante revealed himself as a member of the Dark Triad. He tried to recruit Vanessa, increased his demonic power to 60%, and drained Rouge. As a final provocation, he created a giant stone sword and impaled Gauche through the chest. Seeing his friend fall caused Asta's demonic power to erupt uncontrolled. He attacked with such ferocity he managed to land a scratch on Dante's cheek. The villain, instead of getting angry, cracked a smile, thrilled with his new toy. Meanwhile, Vanica advanced toward the Heart Kingdom. And Lolopechka sensed impending disaster. Dante was not pleased with the scratch and retaliated by humiliating Asta. Watching, Grey despaired and began to remember her life, a real-life Cinderella story until Gauche saved her. This powerful memory awakened her true magic, transmutation. The stone sword in Gauche's chest turned to dust, and the wound closed, leaving even Dante stunned. That was when Yami arrived. Using his mana zone, he created a black hole that nullified Dante's gravity and tore through him with a precise slash, but it was no use. The guy dodged and informed Yami he was a key piece in connecting the living world with the underworld. Far away in Heart, the spirit guardians were taking a beating. But Luck mastered the use of runes, bypassed his opponent's defense, and pierced through him, even thanking him for the fight. The fight continued, and Yami's slash ripped another hole in Dante, who regenerated using body magic. The villain told his story. He was a bored assassin, and now his plan was to use Yami's dark magic and William's World Tree magic to open the Tree of Cliffhoth, a portal that would bring devils to Earth. In Heart, the battle heated up. One disciple set the forest ablaze until Charmy awakened a new form, summoning a giant wolf of food magic that literally devoured her opponent's magic. Leopold, getting thrashed, prepared a massive mana circle and unleashed true fire magic, Crimson Eruption, completely turning the tables. Mimosa and Undine petrified another disciple just as Vanica appeared, smiling. Noelle finally came face to face with Vanica, the woman who killed her mother. Lolopechka activated a highly calculated plan. She created a battleground called the Playful Sanctuary, where her mana zone weakened Vanica's blood magic and gave a power-up to Noelle's water. With this, Noelle evolved her Valkyrie armor into the mermaid form, becoming much faster. Vanica was unfazed and raised her demonic power to 70% while Mimosa immobilized one of her aides. The strategy was clear: exhaust Vanica and Magicula's mana to create an opening for the final plan, using Nero's eternal prison to seal the villain. Amidst explosions, the team successfully pushed Vanica into position. But in the distance, the immortal disciples began to rise again. Noelle and Lolopechka cornered Vanica, preparing the final sealing. But Magicula had an ace. A spell called Decaying World, already 70% active, began to corrode the sealing spell while also activating a curse on the queen. Undine vanished. In a last desperate effort, Noelle hit Vanica square with the Sea Dragon's roar, but she regenerated and swatted the knight away as if she were nothing. Meanwhile, Dante raised his demonic power to 80% and continued healing from all of Yami's attacks. With no other options, Yami condensed his mana zone and unleashed Death Thrust, a blow that pierced the villain's body. Even so, the man returned to normal and laughed. Seeing he could not handle it alone, Yami called on Asta to finish. Vanica decided killing Lolopechka would be too boring, so she kidnapped the queen to take her to Spade. Before fleeing, she turned her disciples into human bombs and left a taunt for Noelle. Back at the base, Asta made a deal with his devil. He gave up his right arm in exchange for more power. In perfect sync, he and Yami attacked together. Yami broke through the defense with a dimension slash, and Asta landed the final blow, taking Dante down. But the celebration lasted only seconds. Zenon appeared out of nowhere, capturing Yami and a defeated William, explaining he needed them both to open the Tree of Cliffhoff. Finral tried to stop him but was blocked. Asta tried to force more power and collapsed. Zenon vanished with the captains, and the entire squad sank into despair. Owen treated the wounded and warned Asta that using his demonic arm was dangerous. While healing Gauche, he discovered that Grey's magic was not just transformation but complete reconstruction, a bizarre and still mysterious power. At night, a hooded man immobilized Asta with shadows, mocked his rescue plan, and drove him to tears. The man revealed himself as Nacht, the Black Bull's vice-captain, and also a devil host. He offered to train Asta. At the captain's meeting, Nacht laid his cards on the table. In 3 days, the advent of Cliffhoff ritual would begin, with Yami and William as sacrifices to release 10 devils over 7 days. Yuno appeared and revealed he was the Prince of Spade, demanding a place in the fight. With time running out, an elite team began to form. Far away, Noelle, Mimosa, and Secra woke up in Alizia and met the elves, descendants of Licht and Tesha, who were saved by a goddess named Dryad. Secra recalled she was the one who saved Tesha and her twin centuries ago. Burning with rage for losing to Vanica, Noelle asked to be trained, and Licht agreed to teach her the elves' ultimate magic. In Clover, Garja confirmed he would join the invasion team. Back with the Bulls, Nacht appeared with a hostile attitude. He gave the squad 2 days to surpass their limits and took Asta to an abandoned house. There he began the devil-binding ritual, forcing the appearance of Lieb, the devil from the 5-leaf grimoire. But instead of hatred, Asta thanked the devil for all the help and realized Lieb was not truly trying to kill him, creating an opening for a different kind of pact. They learned Lieb's origin, a devil born without mana who crossed to the human world. He was found and adopted by Likita, a woman whose body drained mana and life force. She adopted him until Lucifer, a high-ranking devil, tried to possess Lieb and attacked her. In her final moments, Likita sealed Lieb inside the grimoire, asking him to live. The small devil's hatred for Lucifer awakened anti-magic. In time, the grimoire chose Asta. Back in the present, Nacht pressured Asta to form a master-servant contract, but Asta rejected the idea and offered a partnership as equals. Lieb, surprised, accepted the handshake. The pact was sealed, and Asta's arm was restored, not as a sign of submission, but of union. This is where the video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.